This is the Lulich Corner. I'm Jordan Lulich, and today I get the pleasure of sitting down with Brittany DeFranco with Trendsetters Construction. For those of you who haven't watched, our podcasts are all about giving you education so you could be more aware about different practice areas that we practice in and different items that affect our practice areas. And for those of you who this is your first time, or if you've watched our podcast before, please like, share, and subscribe so we can get more education and more content and just like this for you. So first off, Brittany, thank you so much for coming in, for sitting down with us, for taking some time to share all your knowledge and nuggets of wisdom that you have in construction. So I'd love to just have you introduce yourself and to say a little bit about yourself and who you're with.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Your career is something I've followed for a long time, so this is very exciting.
That's awesome. Thanks so for coming in.
And I'm from Trendsetters, and I work at a construction company, which is not the average job for a female nowadays. So it's been a fun and exciting process. It's something that I grew up in. I watched my dad, who was also on this podcast.
Yeah, about a year ago. Yeah,
introduce us, and I see the value in getting our name out there and introducing myself.
Awesome. So you're with Trendsetters. So how do you get started in construction? Like that, I feel like, yeah, you're one of a few, right, in construction. And so when did you wake up with the idea of hey, I want to go out and be in the construction industry?
First, I grew up on the job sites pretty much. My dad, he started as a framer and a roofer. So I spent a lot of time, after school watching him work. All his friends worked in construction. So it was kind of just something that was in my blood, and runs in my family. So watching him, when my first job was brooming the job sites and cleaning them up, and working in the office. So I got a firsthand experience kind of seeing what that is, and obviously seeing my dad do it. So I obviously want to do everything else before then. I've gone to college for other things, but
awesome.
I kept coming back to it. So I think I've always had an interest in interior design and architecture. And once it kind of a veil in my life opened up, I was I'm ready to invest in this.
So he started getting you involved before you even could say that you wanted to or didn't want to.
Oh, for sure. He's all about the legacy. He started the company in the hopes that it would be something that carried on. It's why, he didn't name it after his name. He picked a name that was neutral so that it could carry on, hopefully, for generations.
That's awesome. So Trendsetters based in Sebastian. How long have you guys been in business for?
I think 2001 we started. I think we really got rolling in 2004. But
so what's the difference between a custom builder like you guys versus just a regular new construction builder?
Oh man, a huge difference. I think when clients come to us, they have a level of wanting creative control, in the project. And I think your home is it's your biggest asset. It's everything. It's where you raise your kids. It's where you spend with your parents, holidays. Your home is your safe space and the place you want to come to. So I think that, that is something that we work into and acknowledge. So I think custom, it's just, what are your priorities when you want to, build a house? Well, what do you focus on, and what kind of person are you really? So
yeah, one of the reasons why I love real estate law so much is because oftentimes it's not your cookie cutter. It's not the same thing every time, but you have something different that you're dealing with each time, and it's complexity that's involved in each transaction, in each case, and that's part of me that's kind of fuels my passion for real estate. And so for you guys, are you ever building the same house, or are 99% of the times they different houses, or how does each house compare with the one before that you build?
Oh, they're all different.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of people that see something on Instagram, or because we've had some people that post on Instagram that were really popular, we did a big farmhouse in Vero, and that plan was very popular, which definitely, we'll tweak it though to the liking of the client. So even though they're coming to us hey, we like this, my dad will sit and he does this very thorough, very involved client checklist, trying to figure out who you are and what you want. And then we'll curtail that obviously to your budget. So even though maybe you don't want to have that big of a house, we could do the same feeling in a smaller home that would be more apt to what you were looking for.
I was at a legal conference in November, and it was weird because at this legal conference, there was this restaurateur that was speaking at the conference. And he was talking about his time as a restaurant owner. And I'm like, well, what relevance does a restaurant owner have to the legal industry? And so as he's talking about, he was talking about that he owned this restaurant in New York City. And he said, he was laser focused just to have the best food as possible. And that got him really far. It got him ranked number 50 in the world, which is like an amazing achievement. But like that wasn't enough for him. Like he wanted to be number one. And he said what took him from 50 to ending up to being number one is just a laser focus on client experience. And so it wasn't the food that he was serving better food. It was that experience that people got. It wasn't just eating. It wasn't just a service they were giving. It was an experience when they came to the restaurant. And I'll never forget, he gave two examples. One example was there was this family from Spain and they were eating at the restaurant and it was a winter day. It was snowing outside and the staff started talking with the family and the kids had never seen snow before. And so what they did was they had an Uber waiting out front for them with two sleds in the back so the kids could go take the sleds and go sledding right after they finished dinner. Now, what does that have to do with the restaurant? It's like, it doesn't, right? It doesn't have anything to do with it. And the other example he gave was there was this couple who they found out they had just come from the courthouse and they had a courthouse wedding. And they were kind of sad about it because they were supposed to have this big wedding all with the family and like this huge celebration, but there's some drama broke out and they couldn't. So they found out that it was their wedding that they were celebrating. So they went overboard to make it, super special for them. And like, you don't have to do that as a restaurant owner, but like they went out of their way. And he said that's what took them from being number 50 to being number one in the world and like a 3-star Michelin restaurant. And so, I think client experience, it's such an important conversation. And I enjoyed hearing about, just some of like the ways that you kind of differentiate with your clients and like the quality and like the attention and the communication that you provide to your clients. And so could you share a little bit about if a client's working with you, what they can expect as far as like communication and photos and progress goes for Trendsetters?
Yeah, because I am the client relations, pretty much. That's my first job. I'm making sure that the clients are happy at all times. So, it's a relatively new position because for the most part, Trendsetters was a smaller business until the last couple of years. And now our team has grown. So I think with clients, you want to have open communication. And I think that's when I hear problems in other companies, it's because they couldn't get a hold of somebody, they couldn't get an answer for something. So I try to be available as much as possible. And we recently implemented a new program where it's kind of like, it's this app that we use. It's, you can put it on your phone, on your iPhone, on whatever, and you can open it up and we send direct messages through that. I go to the job sites pretty much every day and I take pictures, give progress updates, send emails. We have open communication at all times and it's very thorough. So like I try to give, the most information possible without adding too much anxiety. Sometimes it can be overwhelming too, because
sometimes it's too much.
Yeah, with this, construction is a million things you're going to decide, and I think it's really important that I bring that, sense of peace and security.
So your clients, like, they don't even have to be here. They could be on a cruise along ramp Wi-Fi, or they could be traveling up north and like they're getting instantaneous updates from you and they're knowing exactly, because one of the biggest challenges that I see is just a lack of progress and a lack of, just a lack of work from contractors. And it's like, hey, it's been 3 months and we're still waiting, like you said, you were going to pour the foundation 3 months ago, but it's still not poured. Right. And so obviously there's things like permits and there's things like that causes delays, but sometimes it's just, too many projects or a contractor has too much, on their plate to balance. And so that kind of forces you to be on it, right? Like, like that communication, like that puts like, that's like, I don't know.
It's nights and weekends.
Yeah. That's nice for the clients, but for you, that's a heightened level of responsibility for you.
Yeah. I mean, I try to think of it. I always try to put myself in their shoes. It's a huge investment. This is a lot of money that you're investing into something and you want to know that you're in good hands. I try to look at it like, how would I feel if I was the client, or what would I want to hear, and sometimes people do get upset. They're like, why isn't this happening? Obviously there's a lot of red tape with the government that we have to go through. And sometimes things do get held up, but I mean, you're going to know the information if you choose us. We're not hiding anything. We're keeping it very open and trying to keep that level of open communication at all times.
How do people get started with building a home? Like, what do you think what first step does a client take in order to start building a home? Maybe they're like looking around the marketplace. There's not that many options that they like, or maybe they've always wanted to build a home and like, they know that that's their next step. So like, if you're giving advice to a client, what would you tell them is like, what do you need to do in order to really get started in the process?
Well, for us, I would definitely tell them to decide where do you want to live? What's your ideal place? Do you want to live by the beach? Do you want to live on acreage? Do you want to live in the Sebastian Highlands? I think that's a good place to start because, the type of land that you pick really determines how big of a house you can build, what setbacks do you have. So I think knowing where you want to live kind of helps. And then once you have that property secured, you go to a architect or a draftsman. You can bring them your plan and they can adjust it, or you can pick a plan that you like. And from there, you would meet with our sales team and you would do a very thorough checklist and kind of tell us what you're looking for. Because a lot of times there's such a vast difference when you're building a house and the type of selections they're making. You could do a mid-grade cabinetry, you could do completely custom. We're open to all of it. We will do any weird thing that you bring to the table as long as it's doable with them. We love that. When I get a new opportunity or something exciting that nobody else is doing, that's why we're trendsetters.
Yeah.
We want to try it.
It's awesome.
And if we can figure it out, we will.
Setting the trend, right? Speaking of trends, what trends are you seeing right now in new construction?
I'm seeing a lot more Mediterranean, actually, which it went out for a little while, but I'm seeing a lot more, but more of kind of like the modern farmhouse, but the modern Mediterranean. I think there's like a contemporary flair. Obviously, the farmhouse is a trade. I'm sure we love that. People love that, especially for this area. I think just makes sense.
Are you seeing like open floor concept plans where like the kitchen like still goes out to the living room? Like, is that like still a trend that you're seeing?
Definitely very popular to have an open floor plan. So
it seems like the older homes, they were like all boxed in. So you had the kitchen, you had the living room, you had and like the newer models, like it's everything kind of just flows together.
Right. Yeah. And we do a lot of remodels too, where we can change that. So people want to open up and have sunlight and, a lot of window installs. People come to us, they want bigger windows in these older homes. So I think it's a fun way to like refresh too. What
do you think's different about Trendsetters versus a different custom home builder?
I think for me, it's the team. We're a family business and our core values are all the same. We know each other, we trust each other, we know our strengths and weaknesses. If one person falters, the other person's picking it up. Like we have a very like fun and loving environment. And I think when you come to us, you're going to become part of that basically. So a lot of our clients, they become not family, but they know who we are. They know our kids, they know our parents, they know our stories. And I think not that makes us different, but I think it adds some value to our company because you can feel safe in that.
Yeah. I always say like, if you have the option, I think local is the way to go because nothing is more, as like a local business owner, nothing is more fulfilling, satisfying, but also at the same time holding us accountable is being able to run it into people at Publix or Walmart or like at a local restaurant. Like we live, we work, we play here. So like we're going to see the people out here. So I think that gives us more of a motivation to like make sure that we can do the best possible job that we can. Because, we're going to grow relationships with these people. It's a small town. So I think I always say go local if you've got two options. I'm a really, fan of local companies. And I think nothing is more empowering than the ability to go into someone's office if there's an issue. Not that there's any issues, but, sometimes problems evolve. Sometimes, you can't get a hold of someone. The hurricanes hit, the phones are down. You're working with an out of town company. You can't get a hold of someone, right? Because the electric's down or because a hurricane hit. So there's nothing that beats the ability to go into someone's office and meet with them face to face, have a conversation and have that convenience. So I am like 100% local, but we are running out of time. So as we start to wrap it up, how can people get a hold of you if they've got a question for you?
They can go to our website, Instagram, Facebook. We have TikTok now. We're out on social media, so you can reach us on any platform, call our office. We're available.
And what's your office number?
772-589-8229.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you watching. I'm Jordan Lulich. This is the Lulich Corner, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.